I actually still see ETH potentially. The small probability upside is that it hits 40,000 by the summer. That's because of the staking cycle and how the charts look, and using the log chart, extending it forwards, and a number of things give me that. It's not my base case. My base case would be 20,000 ETH by March at the latest.
Yeah. So I see, obviously, ETH is a much faster horse than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a much bigger machine. But I always spoke about the 10-to-1 ratio. We're kind of like not at that yet. We're at the 12.5 mark. But I see, if we do see a 10K ETH, I always see we'll be 100K Bitcoin, 20K ETH, 200K Bitcoin. Do you look at a similar type of ratio between both, or do you think they're discrete?
I think the ratio is changing, and it's going to go to something significantly different than. So if it's 12 now, it probably goes to 7, 6. So I think that's what that ETH Bitcoin chart is telling me. So I think that relationship's going to shift over time.
6 is flippening territory.
Yes, exactly. I think we're going to. My guess is this cycle. We don't get a proper elongated bear market, and by an elongated bear market, I'm not talking down 80. I'm talking about down 50, and it stays down for 9 months and bores everybody out, kind of thing. I think that happens when the flippening happens, and we'll readjust again, and Bitcoin will become the larger asset. I think the flippening has not a high probability, a decent probability.
Yeah.
In the next 9 months.
I have this weird analogy I'm going to share with you, but I call it the murderer's row. And it comes from mixed martial arts, the UFC. So, when the sport is new, the competitors aren't as sophisticated, aren't as well-rounded, etc. Think of a trilemma. Now, how does Ethereum stay ahead of this murderer's row of faster, cheaper chains that are already ETH 2.0 already? Does that concern you at all? Or does network effect combat that?
The actual answer is I don't care. Of course, ETH's dominance, like Bitcoin's dominance, will fall over time because new technology comes into the space and they solve different problems, and they have different orders of centralization versus decentralization. There's trade-offs, and that's absolutely fine. So the Bitcoin dominance is going to diminish over time. ETH dominance will diminish over time. Sol's dominance versus others will diminish over time because this space is changing in structure. So I don't have an issue with that. I'm not an ETH person. I'm just like, this is the best horse to back, best risk-adjusted return. I'm a crypto maximalist. I totally believe that this is the future of all digital value. But my job is to select which horse to back and when. My job is not to come at this with a philosophy of it can only be one. This is not Highlander here. We're in the investment business. And we're also in the business of changing the world's business models and, distributing wealth and all of that stuff. So let it play out how it plays out.
But in terms of your investment conviction right now, in terms of your position, with your options, you're 82% ETH, which is very heavy conviction, in my opinion.
Yes, and I think that Solana will outperform ETH in this cycle.
Yeah.
And I think that Terra will outperform ETH. So why don't I have all my money in those? Because I have less certainty, because the network effects are less pronounced. So therefore, I have to have a smaller bet.
Yep, exactly.
But I don't think ETH stops going up. The whole space is going up 100x over the next 10 years. So, you can back a lot of different horses and still make money.
I agree. We see some of that happening. In fact, we see some things that go up, and the question is, why are they going up? So let's switch gears. Let's switch, talk about I'm a big fan of the Lindy effect. So you did mention Sol. Ethereum has 4 times more Lindy than Sol. Okay, think of Solana being a year and a half old, Ethereum being maybe 7 years. And that is obviously a big first mover advantage. There's more assets in Ethereum. It's trusted because it's proven the test of time. However, the interesting thing to me is, it's proof of work. Now we're switching to proof of stake. Does that reset the Lindy clock? For example, Solana is technically older than Ethereum from a proof of stake basis. Does it matter?
I don't think so. I think it is part of the Lindy. So it's another test. What is the robustness of the network? The network is actually not the technology, it's the people that use it. That's the key point here. So if it continues to attract nodes and interconnections between the nodes in its new format, then it's survived yet another Lindy test. We saw this exact same thing with Bitcoin in 2017 with the forking wars. And that was the biggest Lindy test. In fact, it threw me off Bitcoin. I sold, I bought Bitcoin at 200 back in 2013, sold it in 2017 for 2,500 early because of this. And I'm like, is it going to survive this S-curve moment or not? And I wasn't sure. So I couldn't commit capital to it. Now, is Ethereum going to survive this S-curve moment? The probability is high because of the network effects and how robust they are, but it's not certain. So would I want to reduce my ETH exposure after we've gone into this? Probably. Are there other opportunities in different areas in crypto? Of course.
Yep.